Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are tackling one of those really fascinating puzzles you find sometimes at the intersection of finance and tech.
Yeah, it's a good one. The core of it is this paradox, right?
Exactly. You've got venture capital, high-stakes VC, and they want one thing above all else: massive, fast returns. Liquidity is everything.
Totally. And the usual thinking is, look, if your main goal isn't pure profit maximum commercial exit, you're just not getting that kind of funding. Simple as that.
Right. But then what happens if the company itself is, well, legally bound to a public mission? Like it's in its actual corporate DNA, and it's forbidden, legally forbidden, from distributing profits.
Seems like oil and water. That tension, profit versus purpose, it usually just strangles any chance of getting that big scale-up investment.
You'd think so. But the materials we're digging into today, they lay out this really ingenious solution. It's called the GT3 conglomerate structure.
Mm-hmm.
Often pops up in places like Israel, apparently. And it's specifically built, engineered almost, to sort of decouple that social mission from the commercial engine. So that's our goal for this deep dive. We're going to unpack this structure, the different legal parts, how the money actually flows to keep the VCs happy, and crucially, how they handle the intellectual property.
Yeah, the IP split is key. And we've got a great example to look at later, a patent for a system that continuously fine-tunes language models. Super relevant stuff.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. The legal setup. The sources say there are three distinct entities, and they have to work totally in sync.
That's right. The three pillars, as they call them.
Pillar 1, GT1, the conscience. What's that?
So GT1 is basically the pure social impact side. Often it's an amuda in Israel, which is like their version of a nonprofit or an NGO.
Okay.
Its whole reason for being is public good. Education, health, access to tech, whatever the mission is. It gives stuff away for free or very low cost. Absolutely zero profit motive allowed.
Got it. Pure mission, then Pillar 2.
That's GT2, the powerhouse. This is your standard for-profit company, an Israeli BA. Its job, grow, make money, commercialize products like that legato line mentioned in the sources.
Right, so GT2 is where the investors eventually get their return, their exit.
Exactly. GT2 is the engine for growth and ultimately for liquidity. It has to perform commercially.
Which brings us to the third pillar, GT3, the anchor. This sounds like the linchpin of the whole thing. What does it do?
It really is. GT3 is the clever bit. It's often an Israeli Helalit, which is a public benefit company. It plays two critical roles. One, it holds the core foundational intellectual property.
Ah, the really valuable tech.
A really valuable tech, yes. And two, it acts as the permanent legal lock on the mission. And here's the absolute ticker. GT3 is legally forbidden forever from distributing any profits or dividends to shareholders.
Wow. Okay, so the entity holding the crown jewels, the core tech, can never pay out cash to owners.
Never.
So how does the money work then? If VCs invest, they need their money to end up where the profit is, right, in GT2.
Precisely. And the structure handles that cleanly. Think of GT3 as just the formal entry point. The VC investment comes in through GT3.
Why do that?
It forces the investor to legally acknowledge and sign up to the public mission right from the start. It's baked into the initial agreement. But then the cash doesn't stay there.
Okay.
It's immediately passed through, channeled directly into GT2. And they use standard tools for this: convertible loans, preferred stock agreements, things VCs understand.
So the financial claim, the actual path to getting their money back with a return, is tied only to GT2's commercial success.
Exactly. GT3 is the mission guardian. GT2 is the value generator for investors.
Okay, I get the mechanics, but VCs usually hate restrictions.
Yeah.
They want control.
Yeah.
Why would they agree to a structure with this, permanent mission guardian GT3 sitting there? Doesn't that sound like extra hassle?
It does seem counterintuitive, doesn't it? But they trade some of that absolute freedom for, well, significant strategic advantages. The sources point out four main ones.
All right, let's hear them.
First, streamlined entry. Investing via GT3 actually simplifies the upfront negotiation. Mission alignment is dealt with immediately. It's not a fuzzy afterthought.
So it gets it out of the way. What's second?
Second, and this is crucial for the VCs, familiar tools. When it comes to their actual money and returns, they're still dealing with preferred stock, liquidation preferences, all the standard stuff, but it's attached to GT2. They know how that works.
Right, so the financial engineering feels normal to them, even if the overall structure is unique.
Exactly. Third is the one that seems weird at first: reduced long-term risk. That mission lock in GT3, it actually provides stability.
How so?
It prevents the company, especially GT2, from suddenly pivoting away from its core purpose just to chase some short-term market trend. It stops mission drift that could actually undermine the long-term value the VCs invested in the first place.
Hmm. Okay. So they're giving up some potential upside from a wild pivot, maybe, but gaining protection against the company, basically destroying its own core value proposition.
That's the trade-off. It makes the whole thing more robust, potentially less volatile over the long haul.
Interesting. And the fourth advantage.
Big one these days. ESG, visibility. Environmental, social, governance. A company with a public benefit mission legally hardwired into its structure, that's verifiable.
Right. Not just marketing fluff.
Exactly. And that instantly makes it attractive to huge pools of capital pension funds, sovereign wealth funds that have strict ESG mandates. It opens doors to capital that might otherwise be closed.
That's smart. Very strategic. But let's talk about enforcement.
Yeah.
What's the actual mechanism that guarantees the mission? If GT2 is making billions, what stops its board from just saying, you know what, forget the mission, let's just cash in?
That's the power of the GT3 board. It's not just symbolic.
Okay.
The law requires the GT3 board to have specific members. Yes, the founders are there, investors have seats, but crucially, there are also dedicated public interest representatives.
Actual seats, actual votes, not just advisors.
Actual votes. They are legally mandated board members. This is the firewall.
And what can this GT3 board do?
It holds significant veto power over major strategic decisions made by GT2.
Like what kind of decisions?
Well, the example given is perfect. Let's say GT2 gets a massive buyout offer for its successful Legato product line. Huge payday for investors.
Okay.
But the buyer plans to immediately, say, triple the price, making it inaccessible and violating the original Access for All mission that GT3 is sworn to protect.
What happened?
The GT3 board, including those public interest representatives, can legally veto that sale, even if it means walking away from billions. The mission lock holds.
Wow, so the Guardian really does have teeth. That's quite elegant corporate design.
It is.
Okay, so let's pivot to the IP then. Because that veto power, that mission lock, it only really matters if GT3 controls something vital. How do they split the intellectual property so GT2 can still build a business VCs want to fund?
Right. This is where the structure gets really specific. They draw a very clear line. Vertical IP goes to GT2. Horizontal IP stays with GT3.
Okay, define those. Let's start with vertical intellectual property. That's GT2's asset.
Yeah. Think of vertical IP as everything specific to the particular market GT2 is operating in. So if GT2's Legato product is for legal tech, the vertical IP would be things like specialized workflows for managing legal cases, templates for drafting certain types of contracts, maybe specific integrations for legal databases. It's the application layer for that industry.
And that IP is owned by GT2 and can be part of the package if GT2 is sold.
Exactly. That's the commercial asset that generates revenue and value for the investor's exit.
Okay, so then horizontal intellectual property. This must be the core stuff held by GT3, the mission guardian.
That's it. This is the foundational cutting-edge technology, often AI, like advanced algorithms, machine learning models, core platform components, stuff that's reusable across many different potential verticals.
So not tied to just one industry.
Not at all. Think agent technologies, novel training methods for AI, specialized security modules for language models, LM DevOps processes, the deep tech.
And GT3 owns this.
GT3 holds the rights to the core code, the underlying systems. The actual utility patents might be co-owned by GT3 and the inventors, but GT3 controls the core asset base.
It's like GT2 builds different kinds of cars for different markets, but GT3 owns the patent on the revolutionary engine design that powers all of them.
That's a great analogy. GT2 commercializes applications. GT3 safeguards the foundational innovation for the mission.
That clarity is essential. And it leads us perfectly into the specific example Patton mentioned, the continuous language model fine-tuning and user incentivization system. This sounds like prime horizontal IP.
Absolutely. It addresses two massive challenges in AI right now. First, how do you keep a big language model up to date with high-quality, real-world feedback without constantly needing manual, expensive retraining cycles?
Right, the continuous learning problem.
Exactly. And second, how do you actually motivate users who are scattered everywhere to provide that crucial, high-quality feedback in the first place?
Yeah, getting good data from users is tough. So walk us through how the system works. Let's maybe focus on what it does rather than just the jargon, the closed-loop architecture.
Good idea. So picture this system running constantly in the background. The first step is interaction capture. Whenever a user uses the language model, the system is quietly grabbing two kinds of data.
Right.
First, contextual situation data that's like metadata. If it's a medical setting, maybe patient age, symptoms. If it's cybersecurity, maybe details about the network alert.
Got it, the context.
And second, the actual user feedback. This could be simple clicking an accept or reject button on the AI's suggestion, or it could be more detailed, like typing in a correction, no, change that diagnosis to acute bronchitis.
So it collects both the context and the user's reaction. Then what? That data goes into the curation pipeline.
Right, and this is like a smart filter. It doesn't just dump all the feedback in. Periodically, it processes everything it collected. It filters out noise, low quality, or unclear feedback, gets gently discarded.
Okay, quality control.
Big time. It also does things like cluster similar feedback together. If 10 people suggest the same correction in slightly different words, the system figures that out. Then it generates clean, high-value examples specifically for fine-tuning the model.
So it prepares high-quality training data automatically from user interactions. Then that data feeds into fine-tuning and deployment.
Yep. The system uses this curated data to retrain or adapt the language model. But the really clever part is how it deploys the updated model. You can't just shut down a critical system, like in a hospital, to update the AI.
No, definitely not.
So they use what are called non-disruptive rollout strategies. Think of it like having a backup system running in parallel. They might use something called shadow breathing.
Shadow breathing.
Yeah, it means the new updated model runs silently alongside the old one, processing the same requests, but not showing its answers to the user yet. The system watches it, makes sure it's performing perfectly. Once it's validated, it can seamlessly, atomically switch over. The user experience is never interrupted. The model just keeps getting smarter, continuously adapting, with zero downtime.
That continuous, seamless adaptation is huge. But the other piece you mentioned, motivating users, that sounds really hard. How does the incentivization module work?
This is where it gets really sophisticated and, frankly, pretty cool. Remember that curated feedback? Every useful piece of feedback, every correction a user provides is stored. But it's stored not just as text, but as a kind of mathematical representation, a vector embedding, technically, a digital fingerprint.
Okay, fingerprint for each piece of feedback, then what?
Now, when a new user asks the system something and the model generates an answer, the system does something else in the background. It compares the fingerprint of this new answer to the library of stored fingerprints from past user feedback.
Ah, so it's looking for a match, trying to see if this current successful answer was influenced by a previous user's correction.
Exactly. It's calculating similarity. If the new answer is highly similar to a high-quality piece of feedback someone submitted earlier, the system says, aha, this person's input directly contributed to this good outcome.
And then it rewards them.
Precisely. It attributes the success back to the original contributor, or maybe the top few contributors if several pieces of feedback were relevant. And then it issues a reward.
And the rewards can be tailored, right? Not just cash.
Right. Very flexible and mission-aligned. It could be tokens, special system privileges, maybe continuing medical education credits for doctors, or even flexible work perks for staff in a legal office who contribute knowledge.
How does it ensure fairness? Prevent gaming the system?
Good question. It uses a composite score for attribution, looking at similarity, how recent the feedback was, the reputation of the contributor, maybe even peer reviews of the feedback. And there are safeguards, like minimum similarity thresholds and rate limits to stop people spamming low-quality suggestions.
And this whole reward calculation, it doesn't slow down the user getting their answer.
No, that's key. The user gets their answer immediately. The attribution and reward calculation happens asynchronously in the background. Efficiency is built in.
Okay, and just to confirm, this horizontal IP, this fine-tuning system, it really is adaptable. The sources mention different fields.
Oh, yeah. Hugely versatile. The examples were great. Adaptive diagnosis for doctors, rewarding good clinical input with CME credits. Threat detection and cybersecurity, improving the system's alertness. Legal office workflow, capturing that tacit knowledge lawyers have, and rewarding staff. Even judicial interpretation, helping analyze legal texts. It's core tech with broad application.
That adaptability really drives home the value locked in GP3, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And how that powers the whole structure. We started with this paradox.
How do you mix a rigid public mission with profit-hungry VCs?
Yeah. And the GT3 structure seems to be a Well, a remarkably sophisticated answer.
Yeah.
It uses this careful corporate structure and the IP split to build a bridge.
It does. GT3, the Guardian, protects the mission and holds the core tech. GT2, the powerhouse, focuses on the commercial execution needed for growth and investor returns. They coexist.
It's quite elegant, really. That stability that comes from having a clear, locked-in purpose, it's not treated as a weakness, but actually leveraged as a strategic asset. It even unlocks different kinds of capital,
Exactly. That mission lock isn't just a constraint, it's presented as a feature, something that guarantees the long-term relevance and integrity of the whole enterprise.
which leaves us, and you the listener, with a really interesting final thought to chew on. We've established that the really cutting-edge horizontal IP, like this continuous fine-tuning system, is permanently locked inside GT3, the nonprofit anchor.
Right. It can't be sold off easily with GT2.
So what does that actually mean for GT2's ultimate value when it comes time for an exit? Does that mission lock the fact that a buyer of GP2 can't just take the core tech and do whatever they want with it? Does that put a ceiling on the price?
That's one way to look at it. Does the restriction limit the potential buyer pool or the valuation multiple?
Could it be the opposite? Could that built-in credibility, that verifiable stability, that legally enforced mission actually attract a different kind of buyer, maybe a large institutional player or someone who values reputation and long-term impact above all else?
Could they be willing to pay a premium precisely because the mission and the core tech are locked, guaranteeing that stability and unique positioning for the long haul?
Does the lock cap the value, or does it create a unique, possibly even more valuable proposition in today's market?
Something to think about, definitely. How purpose and profit might actually enhance each other's value in the right structure.
Absolutely. That's all for this deep dive.